Stepney the Bluebell engine and Rusty the maintenance diesel enjoy working together on the Bluebell Railway. One evening, the Fat Controller came to see them.
Good evening, everyone. I have some important news for all of you. One of the bridges on the line needs to be repaired, so the standard gauge line will be closed while the work is being done.
Stepney was confused. What am I going to do then, sir?
Well, the work will start tomorrow, so I've decided that you, Stepney, can go to the branch line at Ulfstead and help Thomas, Percy and Toby.
Stepney smiled. Oh, thank you so much, sir. I haven't seen them for a long time, so that will be lovely. Shall I be away long?
The foreman said they needed 2 days, so you're leaving tomorrow morning and you can start the return trip in the evening the next day.
We will, said Stepney's fireman, and after that, he and Stepney's driver went home. The Fat Controller then turned to Rusty.
You, Rusty, will help the workmen on the bridge while Stepney is away. After that, you'll continue doing your regular work.
Yes, sir.
Well, that was it. I think it's time for you two to get some sleep now. Good night.
And with that, the Fat Controller walked back to his car. But Stepney was too excited to sleep. That night, Stepney still found it hard to sleep. He was really looking forward to see and work with his friends on Sodor again. It'll be so nice to work with them again for a quick change. Or what do you say, Rusty? Rusty was fast asleep. Oh well, said Stepney to himself, and he kept thinking about tomorrow until he finally fell asleep. And he set off the next morning. And when he arrived at the yard at Ulfstead a few hours later, Thomas, Percy and Toby were very happy to see him. Hello, Stepney!
Nice to see you again.
We're so glad you're here to help us. It's very nice to see you too. Any work for me?
Well, there's lots of trucks to shunt in the yard and we all...
But before he could finish, Stepney set off. Then I'm on it. The other engines laughed and set off after him. And soon, Stepney became really busy shunting trucks in the yard and taking passengers and goods along the beautiful countryside. It was hard work, but Stepney didn't mind it at all. He just thought it was fun, and he worked hard all day. That evening, the 4 engines were all gathered in the yard.
Well, Stepney, I must say, you're really a hard-working engine.
Thank you, Toby.
And you did very well with the trucks too.
Again, thank you. I love working with them. Percy couldn't quite understand how Stepney could love something he and most of the other engines hated. Neither could Thomas or Toby. Stepney just smiled. I don't think trucks are troublesome at all. You just need to control them the right way. Shall I tell you how?
I think that's a story for another day, laughed his fireman. What you need now is a good night's sleep.
Sounds like a good idea to me. Oh well, maybe another day. And the 4 engines all headed off to the shed. The next day, it was back to work. There were lots of cargo to transport, and there were lots of trucks to shunt in the yard. And there were also lots of passengers to transport, and everyone loved it, especially Percy. And later that day, Stepney was pulling a train of stones to a nearby building site. And as he came to the village, he could see something further ahead. There, parked next to the track, was Harold. Stepney had never talked with Harold before, and decided to greet him. Hi there, I'm Stepney the Bluebell engine. Who are you?
I'm Harold the helicopter. Can't remember seeing you here before.
Well, that's because I usually work on my branch line on the Bluebell Railway. I'm just helping here while my branch line is being repaired.
I see. Well, it's nice to meet you, Stepney. Do you enjoy working on the Bluebell Railway?
Yes, I do, but it's also very nice to come here and meet the other engines.
Will you be working here for long?
No, I'm going back to my branch line this evening.
Well, it's supposed to be misty tonight, so be careful.
Thank you for the warning, I will. But I have to go now. Goodbye, Harold.
Goodbye, Stepney.
And Stepney set off to finish his job. That evening, Thomas, Percy and Toby came to say goodbye to Stepney before he left. Be careful on your way back, Stepney. I will, and thank you for 2 lovely days. I do hope I can come back again soon.
So do we. It was a pleasure to be working with you again, and you're a really useful engine.
Thank you so much, Toby. The line can be spooky when it's dark. Thank you for the warning. Goodbye. Goodbye, Stepney. And with that, Stepney puffed away. Stepney arrived on time and made his last delivery for the workman. Then he set off for home. At first, everything was going well, but Stepney didn't have a headlamp, so he had to puff carefully. And then the trouble began. The mist rolled in. Harold was right. It's getting very misty. And it was getting worse. Stepney didn't realize that the points had been set in the wrong direction. Home, here we come! But Stepney didn't know that he was no longer on the main line. As things became more and more unfamiliar, Stepney began to worry. Are we actually going the right way? His driver and fireman didn't know. Then they ran over another point without noticing, and now they were on an old and rusty line which led to a forest. Stepney began to feel uneasy as he puffed through the forest, and the driver decided to stop. Thomas was right. Suddenly everything does look spooky.
We're just wondering where we are.
What was that? His driver and fireman were very surprised.
We don't know, but I think it came from that old mineshaft over there.
Ghost! His driver and fireman also began to feel uneasy.
Something's not right here. I think we shall get a move on.
Stepney couldn't agree more, and he set off as fast as he could. And it wasn't long before they were out of the forest and back on the branch line. Stepney was very relieved. But I'm sorry to say that the trouble was far from over. They still didn't know that they were on the wrong tracks, and the points ahead of them were also set to a different direction. Now we must be heading home, Stepney thought. But instead, they approached an even more unknown area.
I think we're lost. It's best if we rest here until the fog clears.
Hang on, what are those strange sounds? Then the fog slowly lifted.
Oh no! This is a scrapyard!
His driver and fireman decided to go for help. Stepney was all alone, but not for long. 2 diesels approached.
Well, another pile of scrap ready to be melted down.
Melted down? No, I'm not supposed to be here. I came here by mistake, and my driver and fireman are just going to look for—
Oh, shut up. Everything showing up here is for scrapping. I couldn't have put it better myself. And a steam engine like you will make very fine scrap indeed, Buffer and Bert.
And the 2 diesels took Stepney with them and chuckled.
It's finally time for scrapping.
What? Wait, stop! This engine's not for scrapping!
Stepney tried to whistle for help, but it was no use. He then tried to put on his brakes, but that was also impossible. He couldn't do anything without his driver and fireman. Meanwhile, Stepney's crew were lucky enough to meet the Fat Controller, who were inspecting the yard.
Well, it's a really good thing we met you, but could you tell us where we are? This is the iron works, but how did you end up here?
Stepney's crew told the Fat Controller how they got lost in the fog. They also told him about the strange sound they'd heard in the forest. The Fat Controller was surprised.
Well, I'll have some words with the signalman about this, that's for sure, and I wish I could tell you what that strange sound was, but unfortunately I can't, as I don't know exactly where you've been. But now, I'll tell you the way back to the Bluebell Railway.
Meanwhile, Stepney and the diesels were approaching the large smelter shed. Stepney couldn't believe what he was seeing. There was scrap everywhere. There were also a massive scrap crusher, a huge tank with molten metal, and above was a mighty and scary claw. Stepney watched in horror as the claw grabbed hold of the truck in front of him and dropped it into the molten metal. Oh my goodness!
Well, looks like it's finally your turn. Let's go!
No, no, help!
You silly engine! No one escapes from us. Well, we're here. The claw is ready, Harry. Indeed it is. Well, bye-bye, little Steve.
Hey, what's going on here? Rusty rolled into the shed. Stepney was very surprised. Rusty? Stepney? What on earth do you two think you're doing?
Putting this pile of scrap where it belongs. None of your business.
Pile of scrap? His name is Stepney, and he's not a pile of scrap at all. He's a very useful and hard-working engine, and he has absolutely nothing to do here. Now leave him alone!
Oh, and why shall we listen to you?
Because all I have to do is to reverse back and get the yardmaster. And if he sees this, it'll be a miracle if you two will ever
Push him clear of the claw, Bert.
Good! Now get out of here! Both of you! The two diesels just frowned, and they reversed away while Rusty glared at them. Rusty then turned to Stepney. Are you okay, Stepney? Yes, thank you so much, Rusty. But who were those horrid diesels? And where exactly are we? And what are you doing here? This is Sodor Ironworks, and I was sent here to deliver the old parts from the bridge on the Bluebell Railway. And those two are the troublesome scrapyard diesels. Their names are Ari and Bert, and they love scrapping old rolling stocks. But tonight they went too far. Yes, indeed. But where is the yardmaster? Actually, I don't know exactly where the yardmaster is. I just said he was behind me to get Ari and Bert away from you. I know how to deal with those two.
Stepney's here!
There, standing on the platform, were Stepney's crew, the Fat Controller, and even the yardmaster. And they quickly came down. Thank goodness you're safe. We were really worried when we came back, and you weren't there.
How did you get in here, Stepney?
Stepney told them all about Ari and Bert, and how he almost ended up in the molten metal.
I'm sorry about those two. They can be quite troublesome and they love using this smelter shed.
The Fat Controller boomed.
Trust me, I'll have some serious words with them before I leave. And they won't be working for a while, that's for sure.
Then the Fat Controller smiled.
It looks like saving you from scrap is getting to be a habit for Rusty.
Rusty chuckled, and Stepney smiled a little. Yes, sir, but I've also learned something.
And what's that?
It was very fun being with my friends on Sodor again, but there's no place like home.
And that, my dear Stepney, is exactly where you're going now.
Bluebells forever!
What? Well, now I've never. If it isn't Ari and Bert. Oh, shut your big mouth. And what have you been up to this time? Just shut up and get out of here, you big green caterpillar. Let me guess. Scrapping? We'll scrap you if you don't get your wheels running in 3 seconds. Ha, I'd like to see you two diesel shunters do that to me. The largest diesel on Sodor. See ya. I'll get out and teach that green caterpillar a good lesson. How are you going to get out of here? I have no idea.